Let's get part 2 underway and get everybody out on stage. Give it up again for Stephanie Roche, for David Meyler, Brian Kerr, and for the first time tonight, for Damien Delaney. Good evening once again, one and all. Good evening, Damien.
How we doing?
A late call-up.
Yeah,
We'd named one of those Trapattoni-style 47-man provisional squads. And then when McAteer and
I didn't even get in them when I was playing.
you were very good to come along, and you had a most...
He's no so...
The picture of whatever, and it was missing because I was asking JP to keep replaying the goal for me because I was watching it over and over again. So that's why the picture didn't go up. So that was my fault, not JP's.
So on first impressions then...
Oh, it was ridiculous. I was like, I kept watching it back because I had to figure out what she did. I was trying to figure out in my head how she went about it, but it was an amazing goal in fairness. Really, really good.
I was thinking, Brian, the last time I met you at this stadium was, I think, after maybe the Denmark game, which obviously wasn't a good night on the pitch for the Republic of Ireland, but it was probably the first time maybe you'd been back since things changed at the FAI, and you seemed to be just buzzing afterwards that the welcome was probably a bit better. You back saw a lot of people that you hadn't seen in quite a while, that a bit more relaxed than you would have been.
Well, I was back. I mean, I've been probably at every home match since since I'd finished with the FAI. But I was working. I was doing commentary, co-commentary on the radio or the TV or wherever. So it wasn't unusual for me to be at the match, but it was unusual for me to be at the match in that way, where I had to go down through the where the players go out near the dressing room and out onto the side of the pitch. I was doing a bit of the side of the pitch with Anne-Marie for Virgin, and that was a bit different. So I kind of had to meet people that I hadn't seen for a good while around the team, who, when I had met them over the last, I'd say, 12 to 14 years, he used to be inclined to duck away from me for some reason. I found it odd, you know. And but on that particular night, it was a different atmosphere. It was like people were let off the leash, and that it was okay to, you know, be friendly and nice and shake hands and stuff. It was kind of odd, but anyway, I was happy about it. I have to say, I was happy. It was strange before that.
One of the questions that came in, and don't answer this, was which would you rather, John Delaney reinstated or St. Pat's to be relegated? You don't need to answer that. That didn't win.
Okay, I'll say nothing. So
you don't need to. Yeah.
Well, one of them was never relegated. Pats were never relegated, right? So how would I be about it? It might be temporary. I thought the other one would be temporary, but it lasted too long.
So the news coming in here tonight was obviously that Liverpool were beaten. The 18-game winning run is over, 44 matches unbeaten, 3-0 against Watford. Was this coming? Like, was what we've seen for Liverpool, David, since the mid-season break? Since
I think I was actually on the radio with you. I said I didn't think they'd go unbeaten. I did think they would lose. I think there would just be one game where they would just have an off day, and by all accounts they did. I believe the back four were all over the place. The keeper made an error as well for one of the goals. So, look, it's one game. They're big boys. They'll get on with it. They'll be fine. They'll still win the league in the next month. So,
Do you not think, though, that, like, let's say if they got knocked out Champions League against Atletico and then they limped over the line, it took them like maybe 7 more
Damien,
games.
stop. No.
I'm just saying, like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
How would you view the season then? Like, would you kind of look at it and go, peter out and be an anti-climax? Like, 'cause I think everyone's waiting for this, you know.
Yeah, they are. I think they'll beat Atletico. Beat them quite comfortably at home, 3-0. And then they'll just go win now the next 5 or 6 games. Just wrap it all up.
Have you, Stephanie, have you David's confidence in Liverpool's ability to turn it around against Atletico?
You can't ask a Man United fan that.
I was going to say...
There's no bias on this panel. Or there's not meant to be.
No, I think obviously they've had a great season. There was going to be a blip in the road, but I think, as David said, I think they'll do well against Atletico, and it'll all be forgotten about when they lift the title, unfortunately.
The two down the end both looked at you there, David, in disgust when you said that, how they just fly past Atletico. You don't see it that straightforward?
United, Atletico played well the other night, and it was typical Simeone stuff, even though most of the back four changed. Savage is the only one in the previous era of the back four players. But it was still the same style when they come up against a big team, and they nullified the threat of Liverpool. Liverpool didn't play well in the match. And today was a little bit like that. A lot of them looked flat. It was nearly the same team. Lovren played centre-half. That was changed. I think the rest of it up the pitch was the same. And they were a little bit like that. The spark wasn't there in the front part of the pitch. Atletico will make it very awkward for them. I would say that.
I agree completely. I think, it's going to be massive for Liverpool now how they deal with what's just happened. The defeat against Atletico, the defeat today. He needs to close ranks now, refocus everyone and block it out, because I think the criticism or attention or scrutiny will be massive. And I think he needs to close ranks because the Atletico is fast coming up.
But the truth of it is, if they get done by Atletico and they win the league, their supporters, if they're here, will be very happy. I mean, Liverpool's priority had to be to win the league. Manchester City's priority has to be to win the Champions League. Both of them could still do that. And given how the week has gone, that could be a likely outcome. But I'm not writing Liverpool off against Atletico Madrid, but having watched the match fairly closely, they struggled. They struggled to make many opportunities in the match. They didn't make many clear-cut chances at all.
Three?
Well, that's not many by Liverpool standards.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So you have them down to win 3-0 on Wednesday. They made 3 chances the last time. All right.
We'll see. I was there.
I wouldn't be upset about it.
I was there. I went to the Wanda Metropolitano to watch the game. And I do agree with you. Atletico are the best in the world at what they do. How they drop into the two, lines of 4, get to 2. They are so hard to break down. Liverpool created, when I say clear-cut chances, Salah had 2 and Firmino had 1, that you'd put your house on them to score. They didn't. The key moments of the match. I just feel at Anfield, those goals will go in.
I think Atleti had a couple of chances as well. It's not as clear cut as what you're saying there. It's going to be very, very, very difficult for Liverpool, and I think
I had 5 or 6 points.
It might go to extra time and penalties might be required, and they might nick over the line that way. But I can't see Liverpool winning 3-0. Definitely not 3-0 anyway.
Is it too simple to say that the mid-season break has just stalled their momentum?
No, because they didn't have that massive momentum before anyway. They weren't whizzing through. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't blissful sailing. And they're just getting caught a little bit now.
I think they missed Henderson today, actually.
Does it underline the past sort of 3 weeks, just maybe how important Henderson has been?
Does it really matter? I mean, they've been so outstanding and miles ahead of everyone else, and the distance between them and Manchester City in the table is hard to believe. Nobody could have predicted or envisaged that before the start of the season. They were so close last year. It was only a point in 2 outstanding teams. And this year, Manchester City haven't been able to stay with them. It's been extraordinary until today that they've gone, that was it, 27 wins and 1 draw. It's the match today, 29 match. It was a match 28. It was a match 28 today.
Game 28, yeah. Today.
So 26 wins and 1 draw.
Yeah, it's extraordinary stuff. So I don't, drop off this, that or the other. It doesn't really matter that much. They're going to win the league. They've been so sensational. They wouldn't want to, you said, just hobble over the line. But the big one is, can they beat Atletico and some massive match? The second leg is a massive match for them.
The question that won our competition for the trip to the Champions League game next season, and using the hashtag For the Love It, came from John Keane. Kane, I almost say it as the male man in me, but John Keane, as he very much pronounced it himself, was wondering, and a lot of the conversation with Liverpool's around their greatness historically, that the Liverpool 1970 side were rated by Carragher and Neville as the best English team in the history of football recently. Do you agree? That was for you, Brian.
Well, I thought the system, I saw the bit on the programme where they did it, and I thought the system that they come up with, that what they did was they tried to rate the 10 best teams of all time in English football, and they decided that they would go on on kind of lumps of 3 years based on what they won in a 3-year period, and they get those that saw it probably know what I'm talking about. But they ranked the league, the Premier League, the Champions League is the highest, and then the Cup and the League Cup and the Charity Shield had a marking, but runners up and that didn't mark. So it was on a 3-year basis, whereas if they'd have gone to a 4-year basis, the results could have been different. That's I thought, that it was quite limiting on the thing. And they also agreed that comparing teams of different ages, I mean, we do stuff with Souness, as you know, on a regular basis, and he you know, he's very strong about the idea that the tactics don't matter. That's about players, and it's about tactics. But there may have been no tactics when they were that good at that time. But it doesn't mean that they get away with no tactics now playing the teams of this era, where there is a huge tactical detail and detailed preparation with regard to matches. But they had exceptional matches. They were also in the era of being able to retain the players pre-Bosman and tie the fellas in, and they couldn't go off and play for anybody else. So their team building went on for a long period of time. They had, until the club decided they didn't want you, the players stayed. Whereas in the modern game, but I don't know, you can't compare teams of different eras. It was an interesting conversation.
Get off the fence, Brian, come on.
Well, I'm not going to say Liverpool at the time. I didn't really care. I have to say at the time. At the time,
Luckily, Brian wasn't the judge, John, and you're going to the match regardless.
Yeah, I think it was a great question. What was the team they ended up with, the 11, anyway?
77, 78.
Yeah.
No, but what was the team that they ended up, the mixed team out of it? The United and... Was that another?
That was another one.
That was another one. All right, okay.
Just come back to
76, 77. I wasn't that. I was probably... What was I? Yeah, I would have been trying to win matches with the colleges. I was at that time, and wherever the College of Technology in the Amateur League, I was much more concerned about how our Pat's doing.
Just on what you said there, what Souness would talk about, that there was, no great importance on maybe the tactics, that the tactics don't change. Do you think it just wasn't spoken about when he was playing? Like you were saying there, yourself and Noel O'Reilly would have had conversations, and there's fancy names for everything now, and there's a million different coaching courses, and everyone understands, and there's so much reading about the different styles of football. Like, if you look back on those Liverpool teams, do you think there was tactically that Paisley and Fagan thought about it just as much as Guardiola and Klopp did?
Made the audience have probably been at things where Graham has spoken about it and tells the story of the Champions League final in Rome, and he tells the story. It's probably rude of me to even give a bit of it, but the story was we're called to a meeting and down in the restaurant, and Bob Paisley, they were all sitting around chatting. There was nothing happening. They were waiting, and Bob Paisley tapped the spoon on the cup, and he said, "Right, lads, this gang, they must be good. They've got to the final, and they have some good players. But anyway, make sure he's on time for the bus. The bus is going at 6 o'clock." And they were expecting a detailed rundown on Roma before the match, and that was what they got. Now, it's hard to believe, but, they were that. I suppose the players were so good, and they imposed their game on the opposition. As he always says that, we'd go in, do a battle, and be a bit of kicking and fighting for a half an hour, and then we'd start playing football. And that was how we did it, and that was how we played. But I don't think in the modern game there's anybody going about it that way. I mean, you fellas are playing the Premier League. You've been playing the Premier League the last few years. You've been playing international football. You should have been playing a lot more international football. You've been playing international football. I don't think anyone just says you'll be all right, just go out and play it, you'll be grand. Do they? You can't get away with that now.
There was an impression, I think, at one stage that maybe that's what Martin O'Neill was doing.
I was only testing.
Damien might have an opinion on one thing. That certainly wasn't that. But you look at it, if you go back when, Brian's talking about that Liverpool team, they didn't have the technology that we have now. Do I'm involved with the Ireland under-17s. We're at the Euro League qualifying phase next month. I have to watch games on, Scotland, Czech Republic, Slovakia. They're all online for me. I can go and watch them in friendlies they're playing across Europe. Do you imagine back 40 years ago that they had access, even Brian's talking about Roma, like, who were a big team, that, you know, they couldn't obviously get access. I've under 17 stuff to watch.
Brian kind of spoke about this during the week. I think it was probably that clash of Guardiola and Zidane, where Zidane was seen as that sort of 15-minute speech beforehand. These are the players that you should look out for at Manchester City, whereas Guardiola obviously comes up with something almost revolutionary in the game and changes things completely. When you were playing and when you're playing, Stephanie, do you want to be overloaded in information, or do you just want...
No, that's probably something that I would have touched on when the guys are talking about it. I think, obviously, different players maybe prefer different things, but for me, I think if a manager comes to me and gives me a whole lot of information, it kind of puts more pressure on you, because it's like, it's a simple game, you know, like on the way, if you do the right things within the game, you win it. I think for me personally, I prefer to be given small bits of information. What you've been doing during the week up to the game should kind of prepare you for what it's going to be. So I think when it's too in-depth for me, I think it's not needed. In my opinion, I don't know if the lads would be the same, but I think when I'm playing short and simple information, and do your job when you get on the pitch.
I think the information should be put out there, and if a player wants to take it, he can take it. And, you know, meetings where teams, groups and whatever should be short and sharp, 10 minutes, give the important points, but then after that there should be bundles of information, and some players want to go and sit and read through it just for their own kind of safety, but other players have no interest in that.
Did you sit and read through it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of clubs would have kind of the likes of huddle and stuff that you go on, you'd be given your information and your codes and stuff. For us with the Irish team, we'd have that, and we've had all the games, kind of your own individual performance, and then you'd have the teams you're coming to play against. So I think it would just depend, as you say, if the player wants it themselves, he can go and get it.
Were you somebody who spent hours up?
No.
No?
I never watched anything, ever.
Why?
I had this
Did you not feel you were underprepared going into a match then?
The way I looked at it, this is my own personal opinion. Obviously, as Damien, well, we did team meetings where we ran through set pieces. We watched clips on teams. I felt that was enough for me. My big thing was, for argument's sake, if a game came on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, I need to have myself prepared. Am I eating right? Am I sleeping right? Have I trained well? Am I focused? Am I ready? Am I hydrated? I am only focused on, I need to be the best I can be. I can't worry about what X, Y, and Z I'm playing against is going to do. I needed to be right myself. I got it right a few times, got it wrong a few times.
But if you are reading up on it, Damien, afterwards, like, would you have felt that you could sort of anticipate certain runs?
Well, you see, that's what I used to read. Not on myself. If there's information on the opposition, I would just read it, and I would even read like what the dossier the centre forwards were given, because I always want to know what the opposition centre backs were doing, their passing trends, their tendencies, what they like to do, what they looked for, what was their first pass that they always tried to play, what was the one that they enjoyed playing the most. So I always felt that if I had that and a centre back was showing me something with his body, there was a fair chance that was coming as well. Or if a centre midfield player was showing me something with his eyes or his body shape, there's a fair chance that if I saw that pass 10 times in a pre-match video, then I'm pretty sure it was coming, you know.
And would your managers have left it up to the individual?
Yeah. There was laptops in the training ground. You could go in and log on, and they were updated with the game that was coming up. And I would sit and I would look and I would read and I would watch their favourite foot, whatever, all the basics and stuff. But what Dave did is absolutely no wrong with that. Loads of players like that. Loads of players just want to focus on themselves.
So you wouldn't have been annoyed that you're putting in all this research
not at
and your
all,
teammates
man. I think the worst thing you can do for a player is make him do something he doesn't want to do. So me telling Dave, sit and read that, you have to read that, it's only going to upset him. He's going to play poorly. So just do whatever he makes feel good. Whatever makes you play well on a Saturday, just do that. That would be my...
Also, I watch a lot of football. So I also feel I know a lot about, you know, lucky enough I spent a long enough time in the Premier League. I knew a lot about every player anyway. So I didn't need to watch little bits. I felt I had a very good understanding of what they were at and what they were about.
One of the questions we had in was if you would have had a career like Jordan Henderson's if you hadn't picked up your cruciate. Did you say earlier that it was against Stilian Petrov you picked up your first cruciate injury?
Second one. Yeah. Look, you had the picture of one with me with the Champions League trophy. I bumped into Kenny Dalglish that night, and Kenny said to me, "Oh, what could have been, David?" Like, you know, it's in his book. He mentioned that he wanted to sign me and Jordan at the time. Then I did my cruciate. I spent 2 years out. Obviously, I did 2 cruciates. Who knows? But I can't look back and regret and think, "Oh, what if?" Like, I imagine any person in the room here who's played football could say, "If I'd done this, I'd done that." You look at you.
They're not quite as close as you were.
Was I close? I don't know. unless I'm holding that shirt up that has my name on the Liverpool top, it's not close. So, you know what I mean? I can talk about it. I've had conversations with Kenny Dalglish about it, and we've laughed and we joked over a drink about it, but it's never happened, so there's no point in talking about it.
Are you unusual so you're clearly a very passionate Liverpool supporter. Would you be unusual among footballers as being a passionate supporter of another club? And being quite vocal about it?
I've only probably become vocal over the last 18 months, you're so focused on playing yourself. Like, my record against Liverpool is actually really good. The last 3 times I played them at home at Hull, we've beaten them 3 times. I know you spoke to Damien, even when they talked about, that was it 3-3 demo when you scored the game that cost them the title. I was actually at Anfield, not at Anfield, I was at Melwood one morning watching Liverpool training because I had a day off, and I went over to see a couple of lads, and Brendan Rodgers was manager, and he sat down with me, and he actually blamed the loss against Hull. It was just before Christmas. We beat them 3-1, but he blamed that on why they didn't win the league, which would have been, I think, 14 or 15, I can't remember. He blamed that game. That was the start that crept into their minds. It was great, though, because we actually spent the week before in Temple Bar, the whole Hull team. And we were on a Christmas do. And we were finishing up on Sunday morning, about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I remember we've got Liverpool at the weekend. Went and beat Liverpool 3-1. And Paul McShane came back in, and Steve Bruce was running around thinking we've just beaten Liverpool. And I remember Paul McShane just went straight back to Temple Bar. The good times, good times.
Did you ever get back?
Did you just get relegated that year?
No.
No.
Well, no.
It was the year after.
Oh, he's trying to...
And do you know what? We'd no Christmas party. No Christmas party.
I'll tell you what, I remember, I think we might have done the last match on the radio for Today FM. And last match of the season.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, I think.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere that you won't like. Will I tell the story?
You do, please.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll tell you what you were relegated anyway. What was the last match?
Tottenham.
Spurs, was it?
Yeah,
But I'll tell you what I remember. You was walking off the pitch and the loyalists in the crowd staying witches at the end of it. And I remember the 3 is Paul McShane, Robbie Brady and yourself were the last 3 off the pitch. And the crowd, I would say 2/3 of the crowd that were in the ground cheering for Hull were still there. But I thought it was, in my own head, you were kind of like, you were 3 Irish fellas together. But I thought it was very significant that the 3 Irish lads were appreciative that the crowd and the significance of the fact that they'd been beaten and that you were going to get relegated. It just was some little thing that stuck in my head. I thought it was a nice thing. I would, as a supporter, I would have thought, I would have said that was good. They didn't just run away. They know what it hurts. It does hurt supporters much more than players. I think, in my experience, one of the frustrations of international management I had was that I used to often be frustrated when we didn't get the result I wanted, and I would suffer, in my own head for weeks until we had the next match. And I said, Jesus, your man's playing the weekends and for the club, and I'd be going to matches the weekend, seeing the players playing, and they were buzzing, and they were, and I'm still suffering because we didn't win the match. Not because the country, it mattered the country, but the players, they've got to play for the club. Of course they're proud to play for the country. It's a big deal. But once they get on the bus after the match, the next thought is about the match of the weekend. I understand that, but didn't make it too easy either. But I thought that little incident brought something home to me as well about the Irish lads at the club.
It was definitely one of the things that surprised me when I started doing this gig, and you talk to players after matches that, like, even as a reporter, you'd be devastated if Ireland lost the big match. But the players that often seemed were able to cope with it better, that they just were hardwired that, well, there is another match, that they're going back to their clubs, there's another game. Like, did you often feel that way, David, that You just can't get as down as the supporters because you're professional.
Yeah, but it still does. It still does affect you. Like that Denmark game I'm scarred for life after that.
Tell us about it.
First Irish game my wife ever came to as well. Oh,
Taken off at half time?
yeah. I remember, I'll never forget it. So I came up after and she was like, a couple of glasses of Prosecco, a bit giddy. And she was like, what form is David going to be in? And my dad said, oh, you're never coming again. You're never coming again. No, but it does. Look, it's hard. I think Ireland hits you harder than club level. Especially what Brian's saying. Like, obviously he was manager at the time, but with the fact that you also have a long period of time to wait for your next game. Like if you look at it, like the qualifiers in September, October, November. You know, if you look at when we beat Wales, you nearly wanted the next game to roll on 3-4 days later, but you have to wait a whole month. Then you have boys who go back to their clubs. Some are playing regularly, some aren't. Some go through good form, bad form, goal scorers, like suspensions, the whole lot. It can be difficult. When you're at club level, you just it's like a machine. It's especially if you play in the championship when it's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday.
You just got to get on with it.
Next game. You can't stop to think. Premier League is a bit different because it's Saturday. You do have time to analyse it, but it's just game after game.
Were you good at parking disappointments, Stephanie?
Was I what?
Were you good at parking disappointments?
Yeah, I think it's like what you're saying. I think with the Irish team, for me personally, it would have been it would hit you a little bit harder. But with your club as well, you kind of don't have the time to dwell on it. If you've got a game, we would with the women's game as well. We'd have a league game, then we'd have the cup game probably on the Wednesday as well sometimes. So it's kind of just a case of you fix it in the next game. Whereas with the Irish team, you have months before you can actually fix it. But I think it depends on the moment. I think it's obviously dwell on it. I think for me personally, I always have post-match insomnia. I can't sleep after a game. No matter what happens in the game, I always I'm awake half the night just thinking about everything that happened in it. But I think once you get back into your training regime with the Monday morning, you're kind of back to focus on the next match.
How are you, Damien?
What was the question, sorry?
Are you all right down there? I could see you were staring at his face for a while. I knew you weren't quite following it.
It was the parking that got me. I didn't know what word you used.
He's basically talking about like when you play for Ireland and then playing for club, dealing with week in, week out.
Like, well, it's true that you can't get as low as what the supporters get, but it's all equal that you don't get as high as what the supporters get as well. So if you have a great result on a Saturday, you have another game the following Saturday. So you kind of enjoy it. Saturday night, you have your bottle of wine, your dinner, but then Sunday or preparation, you're straight into preparation mode again for the next Saturday. And maybe at the end of the season, when it's all said and done, you might have your blowout and head off your holidays and eat and drink whatever you feel like, But, when you lose a game, especially, if you're involved in a relegation battle, especially a big game, it hits you hard, But then, Monday morning when your alarm clock goes off, that's it. You're into work, you put it behind you, you can't affect it. And you just work towards the next game. And I think that's a big trait of professional footballers, just being able to let go of the previous game very, very quickly, win or lose. We're
into that final stretch now before the Slovakia playoff. It's less than 4 weeks away. What are your confidence levels like?
For Ireland and Slovakia?
Don't be negative.
I'm not. I
tell the truth.
I will. I just want to phrase it correctly. I'm confident, but I'm not expecting much. But I hope we go through, if that's, what I'm saying. But I'm not expecting us to show up and have a go after 2 games. We'll hang in there, we'll cling on, we'll be solid. We might nick one on the break and get through to the next qualifying round and rinse and repeat, really. And then hopefully we'll nick our way through it. And that's what I'm expecting. That's probably what it's going to be.
Can you disagree with any of that, Brian?
I think Mick McCarthy's in a very odd situation now in relation to the selection of the team. I just thinking back on the match against Switzerland, and just off the top of your head, who played up front for us against Switzerland? We were beaten 2-0.
Aaron Connolly.
Yeah, won.
James Collins.
Very good. You won the quiz. You get the trip. Anyway, sorry,
2 tickets.
Anyway, but there you go. If we said, so how things change. The match is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Is it going to be James Collins and Aaron Connolly? suddenly it could be Shane Long and Obafemi, or it could be Scott Hogan, or it could be.
He scored 2 again today, didn't he?
I know that.
Yeah,
but suddenly we have a few fellas scoring goals that weren't scoring goals. And Mick was in that situation, you're saying. So who do you bring on? He brings on Colin O'Dowd at half time, takes off Collins. We're a little bit better off, but there's Mick now. So what about the midfield area? Does he stick with Glenn now? He's got a run of matches with Fleetwood, seems to be doing well. Or does he do something different in that area? Does he stick with Hourahan? See how he does tomorrow. Does he get a game? Does he start tomorrow?
Did you see anything in Jack Byrne last night? Because Mick was there. That you could throw him in a game of that importance.
I left before the goal scored.
Yeah, but they're so.
To be somewhere.
I mean,
that's Mick. It's Mick McCarthy's doing there, Damien. Mick McCarthy.
It's a bit of a mad one. It's a habit of people going to matches in England, managers, and they leave with quarter of an hour to go. When they go to matches in England, the traffic isn't like that at all in Tala. You can get away. You can wait till 5 minutes after the match. You still have the same journey getting away from the ground. It's not like the M25 around London or something. But anyway, I don't think Mick will do. Jack Byrne played against New Zealand, played 65 minutes and played well. Got a few minutes in the other friendly. I don't think he's done enough for a level that Mick would say. I can take a chance on him.
James McCarthy.
Yeah, that's the one, James. That's what I meant in relation to Glenn. I was thinking about James is playing regular.
James came off today at half time. Am I right in that?
Yeah, came off injured.
So James, anyway, there's Kieran Clark is injured. So I think Mick has big decisions to make. The good news on Slovakia, Hamsik has been their main man for years and years, and he's a team in China now, and he has been no matches in China for a good while, and they've not been able to train and so on. So there's another lad playing in America, I think Mac, the right side, the midfield player, and their season hasn't started. And I think they've 3 or 4 players out of their usual starting 11 who are with teams, they haven't been playing. They had no football. And I think that's good news. But they have good players. Skriniar, the centre back, the goalkeeper's decent. The other centre half is playing regular with Parma in the Serie A as well. So they might be a bit short up front, a bit like ourselves, depending on Hamsik. Am I confident? I'm not overconfident. If you go by the group, what do we get? 5 goals. Oh my God! Did I say the wrong thing there? We have 5 goals in the group. You know, the away matches. What do we beat Gibraltar away? We got a draw in Denmark. We lost in Switzerland. Draw in Georgia. We haven't even exactly sparked, but we only need to be good in these 2 away matches. The other ones don't really matter. We just need to be good in these 2. And if we can pull out something like the night in Bosnia, we got the result there. Can I just say, about how many caps did you get?
9, I think 10 maybe. 10.
It was one of the worst things that went on during Trapattoni's reign, that he wasn't cut. And not just because he's sitting here. I was lucky enough to be at a good few Crystal Palace matches that we covered at that time. And he was playing outstandingly well at a time when we needed someone of his ability to play. And I don't know what was going on. I saw the comment about you being overage. How can you be overage for the international team? I don't know. But it was ridiculous stuff. It was uninformed and it was wrong. And it should have been, someone should have said, stop here. Someone within the association should have went, you need to go and see that fella and see how well he's playing. Because I know they didn't go. They didn't go to enough matches to make that judgment about him in particular, maybe about some other players. That's my view on it. But I don't think enough people cared about it at the time to say it, or enough people actually saw how outstandingly well he was playing at that time in the Premier League. And he was just discarded, and there was a bit of fun about Trapattoni getting his age wrong. That wasn't right. It wasn't right.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that.
I know you've spoken about it before, but did you feel that at the time that actually there was almost a sense of, we have our panel, we're not that bothered what he's doing?
Yeah, because like I remember after the FA Cup final in 2016, just before they went to the Euros, there was a big issue with centre-backs being injured. I remember there was 2 or 3 was injured, and by then I'd spoken to Martin, and I'd say in 18 months, like nothing, and like no phone calls and all that, which was grand, he had a squad, but when the injuries came in, I remember going into the press area afterwards, and you lads saying to me, like, would you go? And I said, of course, if he phoned me, of course I'd go. Like, I'm fit and I'm playing, I've just played a cup final. Of course I would. Nothing. Like, didn't hear anything. And I thought, well, I didn't know what to do then. I didn't do anything, if I'm being honest. I just went on holidays and watched the Euros in America. Which was kind of like, you know, it was difficult enough, you know, watching the games early morning in America, like around like 10 o'clock in the morning, just sitting in a hotel room in LA, just watching like the games. And listen, the lads done brilliant and stuff, but when there was a couple of issues with centre backs, it was just strange that I never even spoke to anyone, or no one even called me.
We got to wrap up. We're tight in time. Stephanie, you're back in Ireland again?
I am, yeah. I'm back at PML, so season starts the 15th of March.
Trying to force your way back into the Ireland squad?
Yeah, hopefully, and I'll be back in for the next qualifiers.
All right, best of luck with that.
Thanks very much.
David, to wrap up, I know you're going to finish on a positive note. Ireland going to beat Slovakia?
Yes.
Whoa. You're preaching to the converted here.
But look, I'm more half glass full than half empty. Yeah, it's not been pretty at times, but I don't know, there's something in me. My gut is telling me we'll go to Slovakia. Like Damien said, it won't be pretty. Big Duffy will probably score a header off a long throw or something. You know, it'll just be horrible, but I just feel, I don't know what it is, I just feel it. I just do. I have that bit in my teeth.
All right. We've been here tonight with thanks to Pepsi Max. This is the 6th year that Pepsi Max, an official UEFA Champions League partner. First time the Pepsi Max have brought the Champions League trophy to Ireland. Check out pepsimax.ie for more and use the hashtag for the love of it. My thanks to all of you for coming out. The weather has been pretty horrific. Apologies again on behalf of Jason McAteer and Stillian Petrov. We'll definitely get them back over the next few months. But give it up for our guests, please. Stephanie Roche, David Meyler, Brian Kerr and Damien Delaney. Safe home, everyone. Thank you very much. Good night.